Today, I'm taking a first look at the Adidas Adizero Boston 8. .30 miles, 7 minutes, 53 seconds per mile today, getting a chance to run for the first time in the Adidas Adizero Boston 8. Now, this is a shoe that I've been looking forward to ever since I ran in the Adidas Adizero Adios 4 earlier in this year. That's a shoe that I really enjoyed running in, but I also felt like I wish that it could give me a little bit more in terms of protection for my feet. And while that shoe is intended to be a marathon racing shoe, I felt like I don't know if myself or most people out there could really run with that shoe for the full marathon distance. And that's because of some of the benefits of it also led to some of its weaknesses. That shoe I felt was extremely lively. It had just the right amount of boost that made it extremely springy and fun to run in. It was minimal in terms of the amount of torsional support it had. So I felt like it let my foot do what it really wanted to do naturally. And it also led to a high degree of road feel. So I got a really good sense of being connected to the ground in a good way. But because of that very thin layer of boost and because it didn't have a lot of that torsional support, I also felt like it was really hard on your feet for very long distances. And so that's where I felt like the Boston 8 would really be something that would answer kind of all of those problems for people looking for a marathon racing shoe from Adidas. There's more boost in the midsole, a little bit more protection for your feet when they're taking a little bit more of a pounding over the course of, say, a marathon. And there's also a little bit more structure in terms of the torsional support. It doesn't seem to allow your foot to kind of flex and move around quite as much, which again could be helpful in reducing fatigue for some of those longer runs when you're getting a lot of paces into the ground. And there's just more outsole, it seems, than the Adizero Adios 4, where there's a little bit of a different outsole rubber pattern, although it still is a continental rubber. So everything seems to be just a little bit more than the Adios 4, while retaining a lot of the same things that I liked about the Adios 4, especially in this upper. I think it just looks absolutely fantastic. When you have it on your feet, it looks great. And aside from just looking great, it also performs really well too. It's a very thin upper, a little bit more substantial than what I remember from the Adios 4, but has that same kind of minimalistic, almost sleeper look design, especially when you look at it from the medial side. Lots of eyelets, so you can get a lot of support in terms of lockdown from the lacing system, that also very similar to the Adios 4. The only real flare of difference that I can notice, other than these giant 3 stripes, which I actually do really like, is on the back heel cup. They've got a glossy part, and it says Boston between the two shoes. This is the right shoe, and it says TON. The left shoe says BOS. I could totally live without that. I don't like that part at all. But fortunately, when I'm running, it's on the heel, and I don't see that. So I can kind of live with it being there, I guess. But I wish they just wouldn't have done that, or stayed with the Boston Marathon logo that they had on the 7. That would have been fine too. Or if you look at the Adizero Tempo 9 or the Adizero Prime, it just says the name of the shoe in very little font, right here on the heel cup as well. That also would have been great and kind of stayed with the whole kind of sleeper look that the Adidas Adizero line seems to have, which I can totally appreciate. And as a guy that loves black sneakers, I think that this shoe looks great. All of the changes, visually and technically aside, I thought that it would be kind of the perfect long distance faster day and possibly even a race day shoe. But my first kind of thoughts as I was running were that there was a lot of disconnect. Something just happened that I didn't necessarily like right out of the box going on with this shoe. While there was more boost in the midsole, it felt like it wasn't special anymore. Now, even though there is more boost in the midsole, and you could totally see it definitely when you're looking at from the medial side, it didn't feel more boosty, if that makes any sense. Now, I ran in the Ultraboost from last year, and I ran in the Adios 4, kind of two ends of the boost spectrum, and I thought this would kind of sit towards the middle. But Ultraboost feels super plush and comfortable and almost kind of sinks in, is my biggest critique of it. The Adios 4 was super light and springy, and this just kind of felt underwhelming in terms of the boostiness of it. And I definitely lost a lot of the road feel because there was more cushion in the midsole as well. So two of the things that I liked most about the Adios 4 kind of just disappeared as I think more boost got added to this midsole. At times it just kind of felt like a standard running shoe, and it didn't feel all that special at all. And the last thing that I thought was, as I was running, I don't know if it's a weight issue purely or it's a balance of the shoe issue, but the shoe felt a little bit heavy, which my understanding of the Adizero line is that the whole idea is that shoes with the Adizero prefix are supposed to be lightweight and designed for performance, and this shoe felt a little bit heavy on foot. But then looking back at my paces, and as I was running, looking at my watch, seeing like effort level versus how fast was I going, I felt like it was relatively easy to get up to those faster paces and kind of find a pace and lock into it. So maintaining a consistent, moderate level to moderate high level pace seemed relatively easy. The other thing was that through my run today, the miles just kind of clicked by a little bit effortlessly. And so overall, while it wasn't an exciting shoe on foot, the results were really right there. And so maybe that's kind of the trade-off for having less road feel and having that kind of medium amount of boost. I've since gone on another run with it the following day, another faster day, a harder effort day. And my thoughts were pretty much the same. Like underfoot with each pace, I'm not getting an exciting feeling, but it's definitely easy to get up to speed in these shoes, and it's definitely easy to maintain a higher speed for these shoes. So the shoes definitely like to be run at that higher pace, at those harder efforts. So I definitely think that this is a shoe that the first impressions are a little bit mixed. It could be a great shoe. I think it's going to be a great shoe. I'm not quite sure yet though. Some of the initial thoughts about heaviness on it, I think were just mentally, I was still comparing it to the Adios 4 because on that second run that I went on, which was a little bit faster, I didn't quite feel or sense that anymore. So I think my foot is accustomed to this shoe and starting to figure this shoe out a little bit more. Stay tuned for the 100-mile review. I think once I get a little bit more miles in it than I have now. Right now I'm at about 15 miles. I'll have a much better idea of kind of the real personality of this shoe. It's taking a little bit longer for me to get to know this one. Another thing that I just noticed, and it might just be this particular model, out of the box, I did feel a little bit of discomfort on the right foot, not in my arch, but kind of like where my arch is, but going all the way out to the right side of the foot. It felt like there was something kind of in here that was a little bit taller than it should have been, and I was feeling a little bit of discomfort by that second run. That had largely gone away, so I'm thinking just a little bit of a break-in issue going on with this shoe, but that's completely gone, I think, already. So hopefully that's just a break-in issue. So those are my first thoughts running with the Boston 8. This is the first Boston I've ever run in, so if you have experience with previous models, let me know about that in the comments, if this is kind of what I should be expecting from this shoe, or if this is something completely different. I'd love to hear a little bit more about your guys' experience. Before I go for today, I do want to remind you guys about the charity runner for this week. It's Jerome DeCastro. He's running the Chicago Marathon in October, and he's raising money for the Dystonia Medical Research Foundation, which is an organization that is hoping to raise money to find a cure for that neurological disorder. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yo, what's going on?